Is there a conflict between having a clear intention and accepting life just the way it is? Or do both go hand in hand together? Our guest today, Wabke Baumann, is sharing her insights with us. My name is Thorsten Lüdecke, and this is the Wisdom Qigong podcast. Wabke is a well-known Chineng Qigong teacher and Hunyuan Qi therapist in the Netherlands. And when I asked her what she would like to talk about, she said, well, let's start with intention. And I've got some thoughts on that. So maybe, Wabke, you would like to share, what your thinking is.
Yes, thank you, Thorsten. Thank you for for inviting me here. So you asked me okay, what angle can we take on this podcast today? And I've been thinking about it, and I thought when Qineng Qigong came my way, because that's the way it happened. I was already involved in meditation for about 15 years, I think. I practice it quite intensively. I still practice it. And then Qineng Qigong came my way. I had been working with someone who was teaching in this meditation method, and later on, I was searching okay, how can I share what I already learned? And in that searching for how can I share, Qineng Qigong came my way. And in Qineng Qigong, we often say okay, it's very important to have your intention, have intention for your practice, for your life, for your projects, for everything. And ever since I started with it, I felt like a yes for it, and at the same time, a bit of a doubt, how does it work? Does it really work like that? And when I now would look at this subject, it's both. I think it's both good to have an intention, with an intention, and when it's really coming from the inside, and really everything in you decides okay, this is the direction that I want to go with my life or with my practice. Things open. It's like a communication with the universe, with life itself. And at the same time, it's also this opening, and also in this opening, it's letting go. It's submission. It's inviting actually life, okay, where does life want to lead me? So it seems like it's opposite to each other. It's okay, I want to have this direction, or I open up to where does life want to take me? And but more and more, I think it's both setting this direction, this intention, and opening up, or I heard from another podcast, a submission to life, and really also acceptance of everything that's already here.
I understand that, and I think it has to do a lot with how narrow we define intention. If we have a very narrow, concrete intention, we might actually closing ourselves up to new opportunities and to other ways of getting there. But often, now what we describe as our intention, there is often an underlying intention that is much broader. So maybe this would kind of resolve the puzzle here, that you can still have your intention, but it might be much broader and underlying than what you initially have formulated. So, for example, if I say my intention is to get to Rome, maybe what I'm really saying is my intention is to get exposed to a new culture and see historical sites. Now, if I go on the website and looking for flights to Rome and I discover there's a great flight to Cairo, I might just change my plan and go to Cairo because my underlying intention of exploring a new culture is still being met. And I think so you're making a very important point, because if we if we define our intention too narrowly or close down and don't see what life brings up as opportunities, we might actually be missing out, and we might be struggling because we are, attached to some very narrow-minded idea rather than the broader underlying force that drives us. Is that kind of, does that kind of make sense to what you're saying?
Yeah, that's it does. And it also reminds me of, for instance, in healing retreats, where people come who are really have different illnesses. And often we start actually with, okay, what's your intention for this retreat and for your life? And people, most of the time, when you're ill, it's very logical. They write down, I want to be healthy again. And that is, of course, it's very logical to have this intention, and it's also a good intention. At the same time, it's important to open up to the richness that sickness can actually also give. It's not only like, okay, we have to be healthy. It's more like, okay, can we embrace the richness of life? And the richness of life is in health, and but also maybe we get sick and we can learn to different qualities within ourselves. Sometimes, for instance, my mom, she broke her arm a couple of weeks ago, which is, of course, she was not happy about it. And at the same time, now that she's recovering, and she tells me like, well, I learned really like there were so many people who were helping me out, who were people that I hardly know, that I only know from, hello when you go to the fitness or anything, and bye, and have a short chat, but that's it. And they were helping, like, okay, we'll come pick you up and things like that. So the broken arm was, of course, not so nice. And of course, she also had her intention on recovering again, and as soon as possible, also made use of Qigong there. And at the same time, accepting what is here at the moment and embracing like, oh, wow, this does enrich me with a quite different experience. So it's we have this intention of health, for instance. Most of most of the time a positive intention that we have, but not when we define it too small. We do not open up to the richness of all other possibilities, and I think there's also the risk of that we are still thinking of, oh, I'm not doing it well, I'm not good enough, I should be healthy already, things like that. While with your intention, you put the information there, and then you set out on this journey to manifest it and have time to develop it, including everything that comes up. And not only like a goal, like, okay, when I'm healthy again, then my life is fulfilled. But till then, I'm still not satisfied, or I cannot, embrace life so much.
I think this is a very important lesson here, Wabke, because how often do we do this? Even subconsciously, a bit like, if I have that, then I will be happy. I mean, that is the underlying thought, right?
Yeah.
If I have that car, that house, that wife, then I will be happy. Or if I have overcome my illness, then I will be happy. If I get my salary rise, then I will be happy. And what you are promoting here is to say, it's all good and fine to have an intention, to find a great wife, but along the way, there's so many learnings and so many things to be grateful for and so many things to enjoy. Even, with the example of your mother, which I think is a wonderful example, because during the time while her arm is broken, she is receiving so much care and interest and support, which is a very heartwarming thing and which will make her happy. Now, does that mean she wants to run around with a broken arm for the rest of her life? No, of course not, right? So she can
Exactly.
have this intention of healing the arm, but it should not be at the expense of not seeing and enjoying everything else that is happening in your life. And
Exactly.
I've got an example like this in my family at the moment, where somebody, is actually exposed to a very serious health challenge, and it kind of um, it doesn't allow to see any of the other beautiful things happening in her life at that moment, because there's
Mm,
always the thought of, yes, but this and this is not okay and I need to solve it. So all the beautiful things, all the wonderful things happening in her life, she just doesn't see it anymore.
mm,
And that is, so I'm glad you make this point, because you can have a serious illness or something like that, and yet there are beautiful things happening in your life, and yet you can enjoy them. And yet you can have your intention for perfect recovery at the same time, but it doesn't mean it is only about that fulfilled intention. And I think that is the point you are making here, right?
yes, true, true. And I think that when you do open up to what is there, what the positive qualities that are already in your life, then you're also opening up the chi field, and the possibilities can enhance. There are more possibilities arise because you open up. As long as we are setting our intention but are not opening up, um, we do not see the opportunities. And that's the beauty, I think, of Jineng Qigong, and especially with this Qi field, setting up the Qi field, connecting to the universe and to the Qi field of Jineng Qigong, or to each other, or to your project, or to your house, or anything. It's like communication, and it's a much wider communication than you are consciously aware of. So by accepting what is there, and from there, setting your intention for, okay, this is where I want to go. You communicate with the universe, or with the Hunyuan Qi, or with life itself, and then life can respond to it. And what I experience a lot of times, and I'm quite sure you also have that, is that then there are opportunities that you did not think of before, but that are much greater, or much more beautiful than you could have imagined. And it's important, I think, also to not think like, oh, I open up to the blue sky or to the universe, and then the universe has to come back to me and answer me. This universe can also be the other person, who gives me an answer, or the weather, or whatever circumstances there are. It's all within this communication. And when we open up, beautiful things might happen. Just life gets more smooth, more easy going. First, because you mind about things and you care about things, but when things change, you can more easily make the change yourself as well, without resistance. And at the same time, yeah, for instance, when I set out a new course, teach some teaching or a retreat or anything, I envision like, okay, I want to have this amount of people in my course. And of course, I make steps to it. So, okay, I write a newsletter, and I put it on my website and on Facebook and everything. And at the same time, I somehow communicate like, okay, if the universe thinks it's a good idea to have this course and to have this amount of people, and they can really benefit from my program, then let it be like this. And well, it's amazing how it works, because many times it works like that. It's more or less, sometimes it's a bit more, sometimes it's a bit less, but more or less it's about the figure that I had envisioned. And it's so I do put my effort in it, but I put it in the chi field, and I trust. And that's also an important subject, I think, trust. I trust, like, okay, however the chi field finds these people, let the people who can really benefit from it, let them find this way, and my program or someone else's program, and then I let go, because it's one of the aspects that I think Qin and Qigong also can provide, is that you let go and trust. So it's not like trusting in yourself. We have a culture in the West very much like, oh, I have to have this self-trust, but that's very in itself. But when we can trust life, there's this chi field, or then it's much wider. And then it's not so much about me doing good or bad or things like that, but much more like, okay, I trust that life is treating me well, and I ask it to treat me well. And then in the chi field, it just starts to exist like that.
Right.
We have a way you can discover Qigong. So at the Qineng Qigong Students Hub, we know that understanding Qigong is very important. And also that Qineng Qigong in itself has various nuances that people can't easily comprehend. So we've approached it in the style of a video game. On this page, Discover Qigong, you can select your character. So you can either be a beginner, a practitioner, or a holistic healer or self-healer. And you click on your character, and it takes you to these different sections. In these sections, you can explore the nuances. And when you click on a card, all of the resources pop up, and we've made it really fun, and not many people know about it. So if you are interested, have a look and discover Qigong.
I hear two things in what you're saying that I'd like to come back to. One is that you seem to promote here that you're also not too attached to your intention or to a specific goal, because you trust that the universe or life or whatever will basically bring whatever is best, and that is the second point that I want to make, because in our Western mind, or in our human mind, we are actually a very arrogant species, because we always think we know what is best, while in fact we haven't got a clue. So the universe might bring up something completely different, and only later we discover, wow, that wasn't so bad after all, right? And but we always set out with a certain idea, pretending that we know what's best, and no, we don't. This is just an ingrained arrogance, I think, in our mind. And you pointed that out, or you spoke about this in this direction when you said, in our Western culture, it's about us achieving a certain goal, and we want that because we think this is important, and we think this is it. No, it isn't. Now, life is out there, and life will do whatever it does, and we need to be in harmony with life, and we need to embrace life, and we need to surrender. That's the word you used earlier, to life, and then we can have it unfold in all its beauty, and we might discover, whichever way it takes, it's actually a wonderful thing.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, and it's also when you a lot of people, there's as an example, a lot of people who have a burnout. There's lots of people having that, or also with sickness. many people afterwards, and not in the moment itself, then it's just low energy and not so much to enjoy. But many people afterwards say like, okay, it changed my life. I started on a journey, more inward journey, for instance, to discover different qualities within myself. And when we start out on life and are not so much involved yet in Jineng Qigong or in meditation or in self-explorance, we have this goal like, okay, I have to get this career or a certain external material things that we want to achieve. And there's nothing wrong with that. And we can find also bliss within that. But for many people, there's also also that there's a lot of insecurity at the same time, a lot of thinking going on, and this mind that goes on and on and on, and we cannot stop it anymore. And other feelings of not being satisfied or searching for something. And many times life has to put the brake on our life first before we really address this topic in ourselves. And then you could say, like, our first thoughts, our daily thoughts are like shouting more. They are in our face all the time. But when we go inward and Jineng Qigong or other forms of meditation, it's more like a more silent voice within ourselves. That as long as we are in this worldly daily thinking and achieving, this silent voice, we do not hear it anymore. And then when this silent voice is actually calling us like, okay, but I have to, there's something different in myself. There's something different here that wants to be explored and that wants to be explored. Then life puts on the brake and like, okay, stop here. And then it's the invitation to, okay, what happens when these shouting thoughts, these daily thoughts, when they just die away a bit, and what is the silent voice within? And I think Jineng Qigong is a beautiful way to explore this silent voice, but in a very soft way. It's also, of course, the voice that tells us like there are patterns that we are not so proud of. We all have these patterns or these hang-ups that we are we would love to just hide it away, like, oh no, this is not me. But silent on the inner side, we do have these patterns like, okay, yeah, it is like it is. It's more silent voice. But the beauty of Jineng Qigong, I think, is this silent voice gets more heard. You listen to it, you start to listen to it, but without having to listen to the negative thing of it, but just exploring it like, oh wow, there is a different feeling in me. There's a different layers of me, which is much more connected already with life, with others, and there's not so much judgment in it. I can more, and then we come back to accept it or submission to life itself. And that is the beauty of Jineng Qigong, I think. And from this subtle voice, when the intention comes from there, it's different than when it comes from our daily thought, our shouting voice, so to say, our first mindset.
And I think we all know that the one who is loudest in the room doesn't always have the most interesting or important thing to say. So, and there is a reason why these voices are so loud, because they are the panicky voices reacting to everything outside in our life, while the more silent voice from within is obviously what we would call the inner self, the core of who we are. And this is where the important messages are. But there is no way to listen to that as long as the radio is on full volume, because you don't hear it. And so you totally have a point when you say Jin and Qigong is a beautiful method to get there. Because ideally, we don't need to go into a burnout before. It's no fun, as you said, and it's a serious situation, and we don't want that for us. So anything we can do, and Qigong Qigong certainly is a path to come to that silent voice and listen there and find our real underlying intention. Now we are back to the intention, because that is coming from the silent voice, that is coming from within. Anything we can do can only be greatly supported and encouraged. So Wabke, you mentioned the word trust earlier, and I know this is a concept, an idea that many people struggle with or misunderstand or don't know how to use it, because trust is not something you can force upon yourself. Just like love, you can't say you have to love that person, or you have to trust this. Trust and love is nothing you can force. So please explore a little bit what your thoughts are on this trust.
Yeah, trust is something that I think many people are searching for. We have a world, especially in the West, but I think worldwide also, which is more and more only directed at we have to be safe. We have to get vaccinated. We have to have big cars so we can drive safely. We have to, in the Netherlands, we have a culture of biking. And now there's the discussion, we have to get helmets on so we do not fall, or we do not. And of course, there's much to say. It's nothing bad about it, but I think our culture and our media are very much trying to get us into this position of fear, of not trusting, because fear sells. It's something that, of course, I buy that helmet or that big car or anything like that, and it's but it's out of fear. Many things we do out of fear, and that's something that's so. Well, it's how do I say that? It touches my heart, like, I would love to have more people like, okay, trust again. We are, and it's also, we are much trying to control life, controlling everything, and then trying, and that way then we can more or less trust as long as it's in our controlled borders. But I think when we relax, and when in relaxation already, there's a lot of trust, because when I do not trust anything, I cannot relax. And when we relax, and when we put our chi field, when we communicate again with the chi field, with the blue sky, with the universe, then we can gradually starting to trust life itself again. And it's something that is gradually, it takes time, but by going back to this relaxation again and again, and going back to this connection to the blue sky or the universe, to the chi field, we can gradually increase this trust, because I think life is trying to give us the best it can. It's not so much that life is putting all these obstacles in there, but it's almost more like going into religious thoughts. But I think life is really a very when you see the life in the spring, when it comes out, the new life coming, the new birth, it's so joyful, and somehow we have to trust that life is not only this birth, but it's also the death. So when we trust life, it's this whole cycle that we start to accept again. Like, okay, life is not only the thing that we can control and that we have to make, but it's much more like, okay, what is life actually, and what is being human actually, and then we come back to our inner self, to this more silent voice, what we talked about, and from there, we are much more in connection. And when we are connected, when we feel connected in this one, or in this chi field, or then we can relax, and then we can trust again. So it's like a self evolving cycle. Like, okay, I can relax. By relaxing, I feel more connected. By feeling more connected, I can more trust. And by trusting, I can become more relaxed again. So it's strengthening each other again. But also the other way. Like, okay, when I do not relax, I keep on fighting with life and with everything that is in my life, or whether and it doesn't matter whether it's my personal thoughts or emotions, or it's something outside. Whatever I'm fighting with, both inside or outside, it's the same. It gives me stress. My body has more tension, and then the energy cannot flow anymore. So, okay, we relax, connect, and we trust. And
Now,
that
the one thing that is constantly bombarding our trust, and is the issue, that when you say we start fighting something, it is judgment. Judgment is the one thing that will make sure we don't have trust. Because if we judge everything that life brings up, this is good, this is bad, then there is no trust. So this brings me back to the arrogance I brought up a little earlier. If we stop that and we just observe life and say, it's no matter what comes up, it's always good. It's fine, because this is life, just as you said. There's birth and there's death. If we start to put a label and say birth is great, death is awful, then we are in this cycle of judgment, and then we will judge everything along the way, and we will constantly be in resistance. And obviously we won't trust, because if something bad happens, or that we call bad, label bad, our trust is broken. Now, how can the universe do that to me? How can I trust the universe if this is happening to me? While really, we have no idea where the whole thing is going, what the universe bigger plan is. Maybe it doesn't even have a plan. It's just a continuous cycle of birth and death, and new things coming up. And that's fine. That's good. That's how things are. And we can totally surrender to that basic idea and trust that. So I also loved how you are not speaking about trust a specific thing or a specific method or a specific person. You were talking about trust in life in general. And that is important, because if I put my trust in someone or in something, it's easy to say, oh my God, they didn't react or expect the way I wanted them to. This is why I don't trust them or this anymore. No, it's not about this. It's really about trusting life in itself. And so I'm glad we brought up this point, because I know this is a very interesting thing to explore. And I think it deserves maybe an additional podcast one day, where we just look at the whole trust issue and what does trust really mean. All right. I don't want to keep you much longer, Wapke. That was really beautiful. Is there anything else you would like to add, where you feel like, oh, I would like to explore this a little more? We touched on it briefly, but there's more I would like to say about that.
Just one short thing, also still on this trust subject, because this week I've been thinking about, okay, what are we going to talk about and things like that. And this morning, actually, I woke up with, I started my day with the thing like, okay, this judgment that is against trust, it's so subtle. And it's actually in every moment that we think like life should be different than it is. And I think when we can change that. Like, okay, really accept, like, okay, this is how life is. No good, no bad. This is how life is. And then we already, have much, we win a lot, and we can enrich our lives. And from where life is, this is how life is. And from here, when we come back to our initial subject from intention, from here I can put my intention. Okay, from here, where I am now at this moment, I can say like, okay, I'm going to do my qigong exercises because I want to be healthy, or I want to be whatever is your intention with the qigong exercises. So it's really accepting what it is and setting out this intention for the direction you take. And having this clear intention helps to actually, in every moment, make a choice. Like, okay, sometimes in the morning I wake up and I do my meditation, and I feel like I'm not feeling like meditation. Just let me do something else, or watch my phone or anything. Okay. Oh, and I see my intention. No, no, no. My intention is that I do my Qigong exercises, for instance, or my meditation, because that's the direction that I want to take. So yeah, that's the two parts that I wanted to add.
Great. And I want to come back to the first part because many years ago, I wrote a little paper called The Cause of All Unhappiness. And it's exactly about what you were saying, because the cause of all and any unhappiness is us wanting that life does something different, or that someone does something different, or that I am something different. If we don't have that, if we no longer resist that and just accept this is life, this is the other person, this is me, there is no unhappiness. It is always only based on our judgment that we would like life to show up different, but guess what? Life doesn't care. Life will do whatever it does, whether we resist it or not. So we can as well let go of this judgment and let go of all this unhappiness and misery, and just look at what is beautiful, and then live happily ever after. So it sounds a little bit like a fairy tale now. So thank you very much, Wapke, for joining me on this very exciting podcast journey today. And yeah, I'll wish you all the luck. Of course, we are putting all your details below in the show notes. So I encourage everyone who resonated with what you've said to be in touch and to see what you offer and how you can support people on their journey. Thank you very much, Wapke.
Thank you. Thank you, Thorsten.
We trust you enjoyed this conversation, and we invite you to subscribe to our podcast so we can stay in touch and notify you of future episodes. We will end today's episode with the 8 verses meditation performed by Jin and Qigong teacher Katrin Hendricks. Enjoy.
Joe.
To get your free ebook on the 8 Verses meditation, please check the show notes below.